Okay, now, just for the record, I'm going to ask you first to give me your name and your birth date and where you were born, okay? So who wants to go first?
I'll do it.
All right,
Mary Bethel Robinette
you were born
in Glasgow, Kentucky.
in what year?
Oh dear.
No, you have to tell the truth.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Allan thinks you were born in 1935.
I think that's right.
Okay, all right. And how about you, Jim?
I was born in 1927.
Okay, and where?
Butterworth.
Here in Grand Rapids? Okay, very good.
And I was born in the oldest part of the hospital that's still there.
Oh, okay. And what is your full name?
James Edward.
James Edward Robinette.
Robinette.
Okay, great. Okay, so now your home, let's just plunge into this, okay? Your home was dedicated as a centennial farm in 2012. Do you
Okay.
remember that?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that day? What was that like?
Honestly, I can't remember that.
You weren't there.
Yes, I was.
2012?
No, no. You wanted to know what?
Do you remember the event? You got
Well-
to have a big plaque.
Yes.
What was that like, knowing that your farm was 100 years old in your family?
What was it, Allan? I don't know.
Okay, if you don't remember the day, don't worry about that. What does it feel like to know that your farm has been operating in your family for 100 years or more?
It means a lot when we're talking about a farm with things that are not movable. I mean, we've got land that we treasure, and that's something that a lot of people don't get to say.
It's pretty special, very special. And I like that you use the word treasure. It's obvious
Okay.
that you value it a great deal.
Absolutely.
Now, Bethel, you were not part of the Robinette family, but you were there you've certainly been around to celebrate.
Well, I grew up in Kentucky, in Glasgow.
And how did you get from Kentucky to Michigan?
A teaching job.
So you were educated as a teacher?
Yeah. And I went to school in Transylvania
Pennsylvania University.
University.
It's the oldest college west of the Allegheny Mountains.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's unique.
That does sound very unique. And then there was a teaching position available in Michigan?
There were several. That's been a practice for many years, that the teacher, the person who secures teachers, comes to the lower states to bring teachers back.
Yes, they're out recruiting teachers. So when you got to Michigan, Bethel, what did you think? Do you remember your impressions of when you came? Was it a good idea to leave Kentucky?
I didn't give it a thought, really. I just was thrilled to have a teaching job.
And she came with three other teachers. There was three of
Oh
you
my
total.
gosh.
Anne and
I'm having a freeze. I don't know.
I am too. But
It was a long time ago.
three teachers came up together
Okay. Now,
settled in Grand Rapids.
and so I'm going to ask in a little bit how you two met. Is this a good moment?
In church.
In church?
She came to church the very first Sunday she was there.
And you saw her?
I was ushering.
And then what was that moment like?
Well, it was
Was it
great.
love at first sight?
I've been waiting 30 years for somebody to come along.
Oh, come on.
What did you think when you saw Jim for the first time?
I said, good grief. No. I don't even remember how we first met.
Well, we
At
did at
church.
church, sure.
Huh?
After church,
Yeah.
there were several people my age. Not a lot of them really. I was 35 when we married. But we, as young, we were called misfits, weren't we? And we decided we were going to go for a ride, a fall ride that day, right after they got there.
Right after church?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you move fast.
Yes, we did. Well, we had to.
Money, money, money.
Okay. Now, Jim, I understand your great-grandfather was named Barzilla.
Yes.
That's a very unique name.
Yeah.
And I understand that it's biblical and
Yes.
that it means iron or strength.
I guess so.
Yeah, I looked it up.
Okay.
So has religion and church been very important to your family all through time?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, talk to me about that. Why has that been so important?
Something to do, how's that?
Well, if you grow up as a youngster and go to church and Sunday school, it's a part of you. And it's always been that way for me. I always go to church.
Yeah, she came with two others when they came to Grand Rapids to teach. And they located on Lake Drive at Cherry. And they you came alone to church really that day, didn't you?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I forgot.
The others did not come. But one of the others still is in Grand Rapids. She had a career of teaching. And then another one was Ann Mulder. If you've been in Grand Rapids very long, you would know
Oh, my
that
goodness.
name.
Yeah.
She was an educator in Grand Rapids from that time too. And she went on, became president of the Lake Michigan College down at Benton Harbor. And also she became very involved in high schools in Grand Rapids. But she also, now what was I going to say about that? Well, anyway, they became well known, these three girls.
So made a significant contribution once they got to
Yes,
Michigan.
indeed.
And you stayed in touch with these women and as friends and
Sure did.
wow, Jim. Okay, well let's back up a little bit. I wanted to ask you, what do you remember about your parents, Ed and Pauline?
They were just great people.
Tell me
And-
about them.
And church was a very important part of our lives. And my mother grew up in a Lutheran church while we were in the more, shall we say, more Protestant? No, that isn't right. But we stuck with the Disciples Church.
Okay. And where was that located?
Cherry and Madison.
Okay, so you went downtown.
Yep. And it was a quick drive. You know, traffic wasn't so bad then, and we had that corner, Cherry and Madison, and it had been well planned. The church previously had been built in 1922, and it was put on that corner at Cherry and Madison, which is still a neighborhood of big, impressive houses.
Mm-hmm.
And
Beautiful.
now they've all become more commercial, of course, but that was where our church grew up and where I got my foundation.
Mm-hmm. And is this where you found your wife?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, I was ushering when she came to church that first Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And after church, somebody said, let's go for a ride this afternoon. So, and we were not working on Sundays then.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went for a nice ride, as I remember, we went over north of Muskegon area.
My
but,
gosh, I've forgotten that.
Do you remember what the weather was like?
Oh, it was a beautiful sunny fall day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what kind of vehicle were you driving at the time?
A 1961 Thunderbird,
Wow,
all red.
kind of flashy.
Yeah, it was.
Mary Bethel, do you remember that car? When you saw that car that you were going to get into with Jim and go off for a ride?
I don't remember it,
Oh my goodness.
but I'm sure if I see the color, it would come back to me.
Yeah, because Jim probably thought that was a real important flashy car to attract you.
See, I grew up in Glasgow.
Uh-huh. And you didn't have a flashy car, huh?
No.
Okay.
My folks were in the dry cleaning business,
Oh, okay.
so I always had clean clothes.
That's important too. All right, so Jim, let's go back to your brother and your sister. What was your relationship like with them?
Very good. My brother was just 13 months younger than I. And so we did everything together from church to finishing college. We were together almost too much. and my sister stayed in Grand Rapids and taught here.
Now, what were their names?
Janet.
Oh yeah, Janet. Okay. Which one of them was not too crazy about farming?
My brother,
Your brother. Okay, what did he end up doing?
veterinarian,
Oh, very nice.
animal doctor. And he had a very successful career and is right now in a nursing home down in near south of Green Bay. His career was in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And he is 13 months younger than I.
Now, your dad wasn't so certain that he wanted to be a farmer either,
Really?
right? You haven't heard that?
No.
Oh. Well, initially, he decided he didn't want to be a farmer, and your grandfather bought your farm
Yeah.
when Ed changed his mind.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. Yes, so it's been pretty important
Yeah.
to have that farm for your family. Now, when did you know that you wanted to be a farmer for the rest of your life?
Well, it was when I was in college.
You made up your mind. Did you go to college to become a farmer?
Sure.
Well, tell me a little bit about that. You were at MSU or where?
Oh yeah, MSU. And my brother got a start a year ahead of me. I graduated from college in 1954. Is that right? And I was subject to the draft.
Oh.
And I wasn't very happy about that, but I enlisted in the Merchant Marine.
From high school.
Yeah, from high school.
45.
And well, I had to do something like that. And our pastor at the time was wasn't that. Who was that? Oh, I know him so well.
I bet you can
You
just
thought
see
you
his
did.
face.
He's not still.
Well, you know what? We don't need his name.
All right.
Because this
I'll
is
find
about
it.
you.
I'll find it.
Okay. So you get out of high school. Let's back up to your high school and
And right then, I graduated in 45, and my brother graduated with me. We were in together all the way through school.
oh my goodness.
And let me see now.
So Merchant Marine after that.
Oh, and I knew nothing about Merchant Marine, but our preacher at the time was from the Maritimes, and he recommended. He said, "Jim, that would be the service you'd ought to be in." His son was in the Merchant Marine as an officer, and so I enlisted in the Merchant Marine and marched off to training in Long Island in 1945, right after graduation.
Oh my goodness.
And it was for 2 years, and then I think we declared no more war. Was it 1945 was the year I graduated? So it was 2 years later when I could have done something else, but I decided to get my degree at Michigan State.
Ah,
And there is another reason. My brother, we had been together all the way through everything. And I did my Merchant Marine service, but he kept on with his school. So he got ahead of me.
I see. That's why he graduated before you did.
Yes.
Okay, makes
And
sense.
so we did everything together. And he even had a room at Michigan State. That was where he was for his time through college. And I rented the room next to him.
Oh, wow.
And
So you guys are like peas in the pod, really.
really,
That's
yes.
wonderful.
And
So can I ask where
Go
you
ahead.
were stationed when you were a Marine?
Merchant Marine.
Merchant Marine?
I was on merchant ships bringing troops home from the Atlantic and the Pacific.
Ah,
And for 2 years, that's what I did. I'd go on a trip and go to Italy or to France or to Belgium or wherever the ship was going, and then I'd get off and then I'd get on another ship and do
come
the
back.
same.
so were you coming in and out of New York?
No, not any one per place. I shipped out of South Carolina and several places like that. New York, Boston. I think that's enough for right now.
Probably. So I just want to ask you one more question. So what was your impression when you were receiving these veterans coming home? What was that like to be on a ship with those men who had
Well,
experienced?
I didn't have any contact with them because I was working on the ship. I was serving meals or doing something like that. I never was in the cook department cooking, but I saw what else was happening on the ship, and that was really just 2 years that I served on ships, and then no war right then, and so I enlisted in Michigan State, and my brother had a room right next door to his, and so I stayed there.
That's wonderful.
And then he took a 5-year course, and so I didn't really catch up to him, but we were doing the same things pretty much.
So what do you remember about being on campus together? Did you go to parties?
Some,
Yeah?
yeah.
You want to tell me
But
about it?
mostly he was the student.
And what were you?
I was a student, sure.
Yeah.
But
Were you more playful?
yes, and I had a car. You see, I had earned enough to buy a car, a brand new Ford, in 49. So he depended on me for transportation some, but no, we did almost everything together.
So, and you had not met Bethel at that point.
No.
This was years before.
It was after
Korea?
yeah.
After my second year of teaching, wasn't it?
Well, yes. Yes, we became engaged, I guess that was at, I don't remember now what year that was. I can find it, but I can't think right now.
All right, well, let me ask you, Bethel, do you remember what it was like when he proposed to you?
No,
Oh my goodness, Jim, you have to remind her.
I'm sorry.
Well, I can because everything was done through our church.
Oh.
We were the young misfits.
Well, tell me what you mean by that. That's an interesting phrase. Misfits. How are you
Well,
misfits?
most of our contemporaries were through school by this time, and we were more or less loners, I guess.
Well, you were older, obviously.
Yeah.
You had not
13
been
months
married.
younger, 13 months older.
But so, can you refresh Bethel's memory about how did you get engaged?
Well, that first Sunday that we met, I said, how would you like to go for a ride this afternoon? We're going to go, I think we went up to Hart, Shelby area, and she said, why sure, she'd like to do that. So, I think...
Boy, you're making memories coming out my ears.
I think there were probably 6 of us. Now, we didn't go on the Thunderbird, 6 of us, no. But we did do things that together. And we skied in the winter. We did lots of things like that most of my contemporaries did not do.
You loved the outdoors.
Well, and the others had responsibilities. They probably had children, and so they didn't have the responsibilities that I had, really.
So when did you make up your mind that you wanted to marry her?
She stood there waiting.
She said what?
I said, you stood there waiting for me to make a move. Wasn't that right?
I'll go.
Well, you two sound like you had a lot of fun together.
Oh, we did, and we did all the way through school. It was fun.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So right now it's springtime, and the orchard, of course, is beautiful. So I'd like you to just indulge me for a moment. Could you just kind of close your eyes and tell me what does it look like out on the farm? What would you smell when you walked outside on a spring day like this?
Well, this has been an ideal week or more that we've gone through right now. I never saw so much bloom on trees. I never saw so many cold nights that made us worry that maybe they were all being killed. It was a very unusual year, and still is. And then I wake up this morning, and what they say it was, 38 degrees or something like that. I kept thinking, when is this going to quit? When are we going to get decent temperatures? But when you're in the work that we are and have become involved in the investment in it, you have to stick with work.
So you've had a lot of years where spring might be uncertain.
Oh, terrible. But I think this is the worst I can recall ever.
Really?
And I think you probably have heard people say that. Haven't you?
2012 was
That
bad.
what do you compare?
The
The weather?
Yeah, the cold temperature that keeps
Yeah.
on staying cold.
So tell me a little bit about what it's like to be a farmer and have this kind of uncertainty and really 24-hour responsibility,
Yeah.
right? Never ends. What's that like?
You did it. You did it. I don't know how I can,
Did you ever get tired?
sure, but I never wanted to quit.
Why not?
Well, I had to do something.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like you were obligated because your dad had the farm before you?
I
and-
think so.
So was there ever anything else you wanted to do besides be a farmer?
No,
Well, then you must have liked it more than just an obligation.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's see here. So Bethel, let me ask you. You did not come from a farm, did you?
No, I'm from Glasgow, Kentucky.
Right. So did you know anything about farming?
Not a thing.
Not a thing. So here you are
I
married.
had a good friend who was on a farm, and I would go there often, but I didn't do any farming.
Right. So now you marry this guy who's a farmer. And not only that, his family has been a farmer. Farmer family for what, almost 50 years by the time you marry him.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like? How did you adjust to being married to a farmer?
It wasn't hard because I was teaching school,
Mm-hmm.
and you work your way into the people who you're working with. I don't know how to tell you that.
Well, it sounds like you left all the heavy lifting to Jim. Is that true? What did you expect from a farm wife?
Well, I just expected her to be a good girl.
Oh. Well, I looked into it. My folks were in the dry cleaning business, so I always had clean clothes.
So you could count on that.
Huh?
You could count on that.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And I think you could say that our farming, we never really thought of it as being just farmers, but that's what we were. But it was life.
Mm-hmm.
And being in Grand Rapids, which had so much to offer, we just had almost everything in our hands
Yeah.
because we had chosen to be farmers.
Yeah. It's more, like you say, it is more than just being a farmer,
Oh,
isn't it?
absolutely.
Right.
There's something about you and the land and what you produce. Why fruit? Did you ever want to grow anything else?
Pigs? No.
No.
Cows? No. Oh, no.
Okay, but your farm has grown beyond an orchard now
Oh, yes.
to
Oh,
something
yes.
called agritourism.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? When did that happen? And
It just really happened.
how did it happen?
I don't think anybody said, we're going to make this more commercial.
It just
I think it just
rolled
happened.
itself in.
We had to have something to do.
Were you in financial trouble?
No.
So you didn't do it because, oh my gosh, we need a new way to make some income here.
I don't think we did. I can't think that,
Probably didn't hurt though, right?
yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you then. You, as I understand it, your son Edward now runs the farm?
Yes,
Okay. And all of your boys are married?
yes.
Okay. And so,
All of them, think of that.
including this one. Okay, so now I understand, tell me if I'm wrong on this, that John's wife runs the bakery and the kitchen,
Yes,
Carrie,
Yes,
and Ed's wife, Alicia, runs the gift shop,
yeah,
and Bill is in charge of cider operations
yes,
and the winery.
yeah.
Okay, what about this one?
Well, he's, what shall we say?
Jack of all trades.
Allan, I am just very proud to say, is very interested in relations with other farmers and with the Michigan State University also, and Michigan Farm Bureau, which is very, very important.
Yes.
All of that goes together. And this guy has a great deal to do with that because he did not graduate from college, but he's done everything else. And he's very much involved and can do anything that a college degree could do for him. He's doing it on his own, I'd say.
So you're very proud of your family, aren't you?
I am.
What do you think makes a good family? A good, strong family that you can be proud of.
I don't think I could say good luck.
Well, that might have something to do with it.
Well, I
You
think
had
it-
healthy kids,
I
right?
wanted to say that.
Yeah. But how did you bring them up so that they would make the most of themselves?
Well, probably we got them involved in projects, and he just had the inclination to control a meeting. He's developed a desire to learn how everything works.
And you were able to teach that.
Well, I didn't know I was teaching, but sure it worked.
You did a good job.
Well, I'm very pleased.
It sounds like you have a lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
So Bethel, let me ask you, did you ever argue about how you were going to raise your boys?
I don't remember having any big differences.
No. I don't.
I kind of took care of the
The little ones.
school kids who came to the farm and helped them go to see what it was like to be in a farm. And they got to pick an apple, and it was a good way to stretch their little brains.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Teaching them out of experience. And what about when your daughters-in-law got involved in the business? Did you help them understand the life that they had married into?
I think they just moved in easily, didn't they? I don't remember any problems.
No, I think that we have made places for them to do their work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to take over, but
Well, take
that's the
over.
way it looks
Jump in.
to me. That and I, this guy in particular is
Well, we're gonna have to get to this guy.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I have one other question here about government, because I understand that your family has always been involved,
Yeah.
deeply involved,
Oh, yeah.
in not just working on the farm, but and all the other things you've added to
Sure.
it. Why were you involved in local government? Why was your family been so involved?
Your question again?
It was the thing to do.
Why was your family so involved in local government?
Well, my dad was responsible, I'd say. He devoted his time to agribusiness,
Mm-hmm.
and that rubbed off on me. We enjoyed going to meetings and working with others who were doing the same thing we were.
You had a lot of community spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me now turn to including you. You had some pictures that you wanted to show your folks?
You mind if I cross that?
I do not.
Well,
Let's
go ahead.
here.
We can see them.
Okay.
Oh.
Got
What is this?
picture of your father there.
My dad in his 90s was helping, and lots of times we thought he wasn't helping, but we couldn't tell him he wasn't.
Al, let's see. Can I get you? Oh my God.
Slide down.
Yeah, just a. Yeah. Why don't you scoot over?
Well, then I have to crush him there.
Let's
Hey, come on over.
There we go.
see you guys.
Getting to know you.
You're all family, right?
Yeah.
And is that? Can you hold it up a little bit more?
Sure.
Okay. And that's your father on the right there?
On the
No,
left.
that's Jim on the right. Okay. What other pictures did you have, Alan?
Oh, so we've got, we flip this way. Oh, there's my grandparents on the cover of American Fruit Grower magazine. And there's my father making caramel apples. But the really cool stuff is further back. There's old photos of the house. But just seeing the house in 1945 and the way it's changed since. There's the diphtheria. Those were way back here, part of the time capsule. We had, so these were from, I want to say it was at the early 1900s. We had a time capsule put away in the home. And from Grand Rapids Township, there was diphtheria and scarlet fever posters from way back in the day.
We don't know when, but it was before my dad came to Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
So that
So,
would have been 1800s.
wow.
And you see, my dad was educated. He had graduated in, what was it? What did he do? What kind
He
of?
was a teacher.
No. my
Yeah,
dad.
well, for a little while. And then he
Oh.
decided he didn't like it.
Oh, you're right. You're right. He was a teacher. Yeah,
That's when your grandpa bought the farm.
right.
Oh, there is a copy of a magazine here. It's Successful Farming Magazine from 1945 with my great-grandfather, whose ring I'm actually wearing now,
Oh my goodness.
and my great-aunt Janet. And this was 1945 when you were off in training for the Merchant Marines. And I'd recently found a letter from my grandfather home. He had just heard about Successful Farming Magazine and our family being on the cover. And so there's a letter you wrote home from August of 1945 that we still have
My goodness.
with, I believe it was 7-cent postage.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you, Alan, obviously believe that you've been given quite a gift with
Yes,
this
I have.
family. So why don't you tell them a little bit about what it means to you to have this connection to the land and to this family?
Well, the foundation laid by 4 generations before me of farmers is very prominent in my life, and it's strengthened my interest in agriculture and becoming a bigger part of our community, and to continue our tradition of serving the city of Grand Rapids. And you said you didn't actively teach me anything, but I watched and I learned. I watched as you.
And there are new responsibilities that have come along with what he's doing. A lot of things I never dreamed of doing. And he's going to meetings in any part of the country. He can go and do them and then come back with more knowledge.
Yeah. So, Alan, it's very clear that your grandparents think great deal of you. What do you think of them?
I could not be more proud to have 2 wonderful grandparents. And I wouldn't be, I wouldn't have the meaningful life I have today without my grandparents laying the foundation for me. I'm very proud to be a farmer in the Grand Rapids area, and it's something I grew up with no one else in the farming business, and so that was always special. That was something they said, "Oh, you're a Robinette." And I said, "Yeah." And so I have tremendous pride in what I do and the family that I come from, and I want to continue that for my children and their children as well.
Here's a picture that was taken in
That was on a cruise, wasn't it?
yeah, and we went into a a palace there. That was in Morocco.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
more grandchildren here.
And we're having a
Bill's wedding there.
family reunion. Is it next Sunday?
End of next month.
Okay. And this was a family reunion here.
Well, I've heard that you had like 300 members of a family.
Well, I don't know, but it might be. It might be.
All over the United States coming together.
Yeah.
Will it be that big?
I believe so, and this is the 150th Schaefer family reunion. So that's my great grandmother Pauline
Right.
was a Schaefer, and this is her extended family, and they have an annual reunion, and this is the 150th.
My gosh, that's quite an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jim, is there anything else that you just mentioned a trip to Morocco? Are there other things that?
Well, he gets to see lots of other interesting places in the world already,
Yes.
and that's going to continue with him forever, I'm sure. The ability to appreciate what other people are doing.
And what about you? Was there anything else that in your lifeline that you learned from or made a significant impact on you? Something that you'll be grateful you remember?
Well, I think not as well developed as what he is doing, but attending meetings in other places and learning what others are doing with a different outcome. So
So you've been a lifelong learner as well.
I think so.
Well, I think you've done great. Okay, well, I think that's it. I appreciate it very much, Alan. It was wonderful.
William Penn was the prominent settler in those days.
Yes, he founded Pennsylvania. Pretty prominent. Are you related to him?
No. We were there.
You were there.